Oh yeah, it's all coming together.
One of the most underrated aspects of a movie is the side character that helps out the main ones in cases of either a hero or villain. Things we constantly see in things like Disney films like Phil from Hercules, Olaf from Frozen, the Gargoyles from Hunchback, and so forth. But out of all of them, there's only one man who stands out the most. One man who actually got a chance to become a main protagonist in his own right in the sequel, and his name is Kronk, the greatest Disney character ever created. As great as The Emperor's New Groove is, the movie wouldn't have been the success it was without Kronk himself, with good old Patrick Warburton lending his iconic voice to the role, giving him a lovable personality of the strongest idiot in the world, one who loves to cook and is generally unaware of things that are right in front of him. And that's what brings us here today, where I decided to dedicate this very video in his honor and chart his many accomplishments in both The Emperor's New Groove and Kronk's New Groove. And this starts way back at the very beginning of the film, where we are first introduced to the daily routine of Emperor Kuzco, being the young arrogant emperor, where his advisor Yzma takes daily matters when he is not around, using Kronk as her very henchman, something she replaces about every decade, where he's presented as this new model whose intelligence is not high up on the table, but he has amazing personality to make up for it, being a little curious puppy who constantly explores the world. And that idiocy is actually the greatest indirect reason for all of the events in the movie to take place. Where sure, Kuzco fires Yzma and makes her resent him, but Kronk is the one who actually puts the idea into her head to get rid of Kuzco and usurp the throne for herself when she was smashing Bustophin, and creates a poison to finally get rid of him once and for all. And when we get that scene where she invites Kuzco over, because of his love and talent for the culinary arts, Kronk mixes the drink and gives Kuzco the llama potion instead of the poison potion. His love for food inadvertently saves Kuzco's life in that moment from being poisoned, and his clumsiness and conscious thoughts with his shoulder angel and devil results in losing the body from being properly disposed of, screwing up not once but twice and serving as the true basis for the entire story, whereas we all know is a journey that humbles Kuzco throughout his adventures with Pacha, where he was going to kick his ass out to build his own summer palace, where now he has to make a deal if he wants to return back. So as you can see, that is at least 3 things that Kronk has done to set up the main points of the very film, from putting the idea of assassination in Yzma's head to also saving Kuzco's life in the very process. This is where we actually see the goodness of Kronk's heart. He may be an idiot serving evil, but his passion completely serves the will of the good guys, where of course he doesn't know what exactly is wrong or right, but tries his best to do so, and that's what makes him likable compared to others on a whole different level and gives him reason to be a protagonist later on. Because when Yzma herself finds this out because of how honest he needs to be, they have to go on this adventure to get the Emperor to finally kill him, where we also discover more of his innate abilities such as speaking squirrel, a master of the squirrel language who can run many miles without being tired, and a fantastic cook who would definitely put Gordon Ramsay to shame. Constantly throughout the entire film, he proves his worth being so multi-talented, virtually getting hired on the spot after the previous chef quits on him, which is of course an event that will play in the events of the second film where he becomes the head chef, as we will eventually see. Also, when he goes back venturing for Kuzco, we see that he is quite the detective, deducing not only did Pacha forget to pay his check, but also realizing he is the one who had Kuzco when he slipped it back in the beginning, knowing now that this is where the Emperor must be located. A top-notch investigator if I do say so myself, where when they go find him at his place, they try to set up a neat trap for him, but of course both Yzma and Kronk get trapped in the process, where he also shows how much he has a respect for good craftsmanship, such as seen right here.
That's it, Kronk. Break the door down.
Break it down, will you? Kidding me? This is hand-carved mahogany.
It's one of those situations where you can now see that he is smarter than he looks, having this innate ability for creativity and art, even pointing out the most absurd situations where they finally catch up to the other two after getting lost on a trail.
Well, you got me. By all accounts, it doesn't make sense.
And of course, this is also finally where he gets the choice to prove that who he really is, after realizing the amount of abuse and insults that Yzma hurls at him, finally snapping because she didn't like his spinach puff, betraying her now, albeit unsuccessfully at first, and also inadvertently stopping her after when her very own trapdoor actually let him out at the right moment coincidentally, finally freeing himself to do what he loves, being a squirrel teacher at the events of the end of this film. This leads us also to Kronk's New Groove, where everything is on the up for him. The beloved delivery boy of the public and the chef and squirrel teacher, where now he faces his dad coming back to visit him, one who actually disapproved of his love for cooking as a child and wanted a wife and a large house up on the hill. Things that he actually got throughout the course of this film through flashbacks, but came at the cost, as we will eventually see. And these events is where he got caught up in things like meeting up with Yzma once again to sell a bunch of fake potions to make the elderly believe that they were taking youth potions, something similar in vein to like the Say 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 music video with Paul McCartney and Michael Jackson, where here in this case they make enough money that Kronk gets to buy the old folks home, getting everything he wanted in a big house and writing to his dad that he got this part done about what he wanted from his very son. But because of the goodness of his heart and realizing that the potions do not work, he turns once again against Yzma, finally giving the home back to the elderly because of the kind, gentle soul that he truly is. Despite having what he needed from his father, he would rather serve the good of others rather than the good of himself. And this is also in the similar case when he finally found love when he was a camp counselor competing with his other team led by Miss Birdwell, where it tears him apart between his loyalty for his chipmunks and his new love that he develops throughout the course of this sequence, where at the very end of this he actually chooses to help his team for the sake of being one, admitting that all of this chaos in the end was his fault, which of course breaks her heart for helping them over the sake of honesty and love of her. It's a situation that puts into focus his greatest faults, where no matter how much he tries to do good for others, it comes at the cost of almost alienating everyone else. And that is the case whether he's helping Yzma do evil acts or just helping anyone else who just happens to go against what other people want. But at the end, we realize that this is not the case, where everyone comes to rescue to help keep Kronk in his father's good graces to show that he has everything he's wanted, from his co-workers, friends, and of course Kuzco himself, who wanted to weasel his way into his very film, where they all show that they all appreciate Kronk for who he is and what he's done for them. This actually makes him realize that he got everything he needs, where of course his father sees that too and gives him a thumbs up like he always wanted. And also we see Miss Birdwell come back, where his life becomes complete once again. Every action he takes, whether it be generally stupid or completely genius, are in fact what makes the world of these films unique to begin with. The reason for Kuzco's journey and character arc, and the reason for the entire country to be held together at this point. He is just the entire savior of whatever country this is called. Like literally there is no name for this country other than the fact it might take place in present day Peru. So as you can see, most of what Kronk does is for the goodness of helping others, no matter how good or bad it can actually seem. Only seeing people as people and not villainous tyrants or petty dictators, where he also has this indirect ability of changing other people's hearts. Out of every other Disney character we have seen, he is the most talented by a long shot, more so than the gods themselves and other powerful Disney heroes or villains. A situation where you'd be better off worshipping his spinach puffs or facing down his very wrath. Without him, nothing that we have seen done in these films could have been done, where Yzma couldn't have thought of killing Kuzco, and Kuzco couldn't have developed a relationship with Pacha, where he would have built the Summer Palace instead. And of course, as a result, the people would have suffered from throwing off his groove. Just everything that was at the beginning of the film would have remained so if it weren't for his own actions. And of course, had he not done this, he would have not met love of his life also if it meant serving one more day with Yzma, where he eventually ends things on a positive note, becoming the royal advisor of the Emperor at the end of the very series. In short, Kronk is the definitive Disney character and no other can actually come close, not even Mickey Mouse himself. And with that said, I'm all done now, so goodbye.